Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I know last video my housemates were making a terrible racket in the kitchen and it made us realise that we really need to get a new microphone. We haven't got a new microphone yet, but we will get one at some stage. I can't tell you when, but probably as soon as I can afford it. Hopefully it'll mean that our sound is a lot clearer and there's a lot less background noise. But for the moment, please just bear with us and yeah, let's just jump right into the video. Roll the intro. So life can be tough sometimes, and the Bible is very, very aware of this. In fact, it's spoken about throughout the Bible, but in one particular story, in Matthew 14, it tells us of a time when Jesus' disciples were on a lake. They were fishermen by trade, but tonight their purpose for being on the lake was not to fish, but it was to cross from one side to the other side of the lake. Jesus had commanded them, get this, Jesus commanded them to cross the lake. Sometimes God tells us to do things, but when we get on the journey, when we walk down this path that He tells us to follow, sometimes things do get rough. Sometimes the sea does get rough. And on this particular night for the disciples, the sea did get really rough. This is what the Bible says in Matthew 14 verse 24. So the disciples, they're crossing the lake, and it says, but now the ship was caught in the middle of the sea and it was tossed with waves because the wind was strong. Basically what it's saying is this big storm just whipped up. Don't forget, they were on the path that Jesus told them to be on. But then the Bible continues and says, in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus came to them walking on water. The disciples were going on the path that Jesus told them to go on. They came across difficulty and they were afraid for their lives. Jesus did not leave them alone. And as it was for the disciples, it's the same for me and it's the same for you. Jesus sometimes tells us to follow a certain path or go in a certain direction. But when we start on that journey, sometimes we do come across difficulties, and sometimes the road is tough or the sea is really rough. But the thing is that Jesus never leaves us in that situation to fend for ourselves. Just as He came to the disciples walking on water, He can come to you in whatever situation you're in. He is powerful enough to change your situation. He is powerful enough to keep you safe, to guide you through whatever storms might hit you in life. The story continues, and a bit further on, Peter calls out to Jesus and he says, Jesus, if it is really you, then tell me to come out on the water and walk on the water with you. And Jesus says, Peter, get out on the water with me. And Peter, of course, loses faith in that little period that he's out on the water. He's walking on the water for a while, but he loses faith and he begins to sink. And Jesus rescues him and pulls him back up onto the top of the water. And they walk back to the boat together. And it's just this amazing picture. Sometimes in life it might feel like your ship is sinking, but it doesn't matter if your ship is sinking. It doesn't matter, in fact, if your ship sinks completely when you worship a God that invites you to walk on water. Remember that today. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. Alone. Who's at our house?